collide. You pull me in, I don't resist. Time seems to fly, but the clock doesn't tick. I crash into you, we both feel the hit. We both feel the way that our chemicals mix, and I wish that
I just keep my eyes shut. Maybe this time will be enough.
So I need the dark. Without you here, I wouldn't never see the stars. I'm headed for ya. Put on the gas. I'm coming straight at you, no looking back.
Statue, your heart is a magnet, I'm coming at you. Girl, you're my target, I'm aiming at you. You're a comet, I'm trying to catch you. We can break any rule they ever taught you. Forget about anything they ever bought you. Cause me and you don't need a lot in this world to get by. Plus you know I got you, you pull me in. I don't resist, time seems to fly but the clock doesn't tick. I crash into you, we both feel the hit. We both feel the way that our chemicals mix. And I wish that
I just keep my eyes shut. Maybe this time will be enough.
So I need the dark. Without you here, I wouldn't never see the stars. I'm headed for ya. Put on the gas. I'm coming straight at you, no looking back.
Hell, it's BaseTradeTV.
I was muted for that. Excellent. Begrudgingly, I say good morning again, but more begrudgingly than I did when I was muted. It is early. It is 1 a.m. Pacific. It is too early for StarCraft in any part of the world that isn't Korea. But here we are. Actually, I just realized, I was about to say good morning, so I'm going to do the whole spiel, but I've just realized you waking up at this hour is like me waking up at any other hour for the other stuff we do.
Yeah. Yeah, it is.
4 a.m. on the East Coast for poor Zombie Grub.
Yeah. That's okay. I got enough sleep.
Well, I'm envious. My neighbors upstairs are, I think, training a baby rhino. So, you know, there's
The
that.
footsteps are so loud. Like, what?
Dude, I don't understand. So, like, I have visualized this, right? Like, I understand, okay, thump, 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 thump is the footsteps of someone walking around, stomping around, maybe a kid running around, right? But then there's shit where it's like, are you dragging furniture? Are you just like, did you put a weight on your floor and you're practicing moving it as strength endurance training? Like, what are you doing up there? How many times can you rearrange your fucking living room and have the couch pushed around? Okay, sorry. Anyways, that's the tangent. Guys, it's StarCraft 2 with the QCL. It's Crank's power overwhelming team league. And I gotta be honest, this is a really fun, like, despite the bitchiness that is this time to be awake, this has been a really fun tournament to cover. A very unique format, great players, and I'm really excited for today's grand finals / losers finals match. To explain really quick, because someone asked about this, there are no VODs from the last cast. We missed that one. That's on me. Crank had changed the dates on this, and I think within a reasonable time period, but because I have moved communications off of Skype, I didn't see this. So I have the replays, which I may cast at a future date, just because they're good. They're probably good and fun games. But as of right now, as far as I'm aware, unless Wardy's done it from replays or something, I don't think there's any English coverage of the previous semifinals matches.
I haven't seen anything, so Probably. Oh boy.
Well, the first matchup today is Trap versus Solar. We'll talk about the
Right.
teams. We'll talk about the format. But before that, just really quickly, before I forget about this, thank you to several people for subscribing to the stream before the stream even went live. We got Jameser Games with that 2 months. Shouts power overwhelming. I would too, but I don't have the energy. Dotry10 or Do Try 10. Thank you for the 4-month resub. Can't think of a creative name. Thank you for the 2 months. Hello there. Geskers also rocked us with the Twitch Prime, and so did Jay fucking Mooey. Jay Mooey, I haven't seen you in a hot minute. I hope you're doing all right, dude. But okay, Zombie, you got predictions on this first one? It's a best of one after all, Trap versus Solar. Although right now it's Trap versus Rifkin. Good luck, Trap.
Yeah, I definitely go with Griffin in that one. I think Solar's gonna win. I mean, I don't know. Solar's not exactly been great at the online stuff in the past week, but I don't actually know if Trap's been any good either. So, that's just a guess. I don't know. I think it's 50-50.
Well, I think it's funny that you phrase it like that, because I actually wholeheartedly agree in terms of, like, we've seen better and we out of both Trap and Solar. But whether it's the Alima League or maybe you caught them in Ballistics or I've caught them for Ting, like, regardless where we've seen them, like, neither have had the stellar performance that I think each of them are known for. Not within recent days, at least. So
Yeah.
I'm hoping for either an equally amazing or an equally awful shit show between the two of them. But I guess as a quick introduction for those who, whether you're watching on YouTube or live here on Twitch, who are unfamiliar with the format, it's a best of 7. And I don't know if they've changed this for the finals, right? But it's classically a best of 7. There's 3 preset matches, like the maps and the players are picked ahead of time, so there's no changing them to adjust it. Then there's a 2 versus 2 that happens for game 4. The winner of the 2 versus 2 gets a revival for the second half of the best of 7, and in those remaining matches, it's an all-kill format. It's very unique. I absolutely applaud Crank for having the genius idea of coming up with this in the first place. Maybe he stole it from someone, maybe he came up with it himself, I don't know. But the thing is, I've learned about it through Crank, so I credit Crank. And it's been very fun. And what's surprising, I think, is we've had a couple of one-sided best of 7s, but most of them go the distance.
Yeah, we've had a lot of ace matches. I got to cast a 4-0 though, and I think you've got to as well. But maybe not now that we're deeper into the tournament. I don't know. One of them was from Innovation's one-man team, who's waiting in the finals.
Yeah. So this, just to explain, it's a double. Despite this whole weird Team League / best of 7 format, guys, it is double elimination. We are presently in the losers bracket grand finals. The winning team moves on to fight against the Innovation one-man team, which consists of Innovation, Sue, and Zest.
Yes. They looked like it's such a funny thing because they almost got knocked out in the first round, like into the losers bracket, and we were like, oh, these are really impressive names, but maybe they're not like the currently most impressive. But then they kind of proved themselves. Innovation did he helped carry the team at one of the ones that I cast, I think, and then Sue and Zest have actually carried, done their part, and now they're what looks to be the coolest, most powerhouse team of players actually did end up going to being in the finals. I guess the only team that has like the runner up on like the most just like, oh my god, those are really cool players, was probably Slendus and the Bugs, and then 94 Fam. And 94 Fam just did not do well.
No, Deer, Rogue, and TY got wrecked.
Yeah, they just could not. I mean, I don't know about Deer. I don't mean to, I don't know, make this like a Deer let them down or anything. But no, like it was Rogue and TY also couldn't really pull through. So, anyways, it's interesting. Innovation continues to perform, I guess, in team leagues. Which is at one point he kind of had a thing for doing that, but that was such a long time ago.
Well, as far as what's going on for the teams at hand, I guess what's interesting is I'm looking at the rosters for both. On one hand, you got Stats, Dark, and Solar. On the other, you have Trap, Kieran Class. No, wait, sorry, wrong team. Kim-ho. Oh, no, it was the right team. Trap, Kieran Classic. I just love that with Innovation's team, it is actually like perfect balance, right? Team Thanos is what they should have called it. But With these guys, it's 2 Zergs and a Protoss, or 2 Protoss and a Terran. A little bit like one-sided in terms of like racial distribution, I guess. I think what I really like about Innovation Students S is not just the player names and the legacy that kind of comes with them, but the balance that they can take on any matchup. Anyways, guys, it's Cerulean Fall. You've heard the beeps. Let's get into game. Alright, I may have hit that scene transition button a little bit early, and looks like once again, the overlay is not loading correctly, which is... I did tests on this before we went live. I sat here for 30 minutes while I was watching the last part of the Jake Paul series, and I tested everything on OBS to make sure this wouldn't happen, and here we are, live on stream, and the overlay is not loading once again. So, I guess just deal with it? Question mark? That sucks. Alright folks, getting into game here. It's map 1 in a best of 7. You're gonna see some stutters because we're on the Korean server. Hashtag deal with it. And let's get into game. To the bottom left side, he is not being proxied. We have the red Zerg, Solar.
In the top right is the blue Protoss. He's Trap.
Alright guys, now you'd think I'd have this figured out by now, but I do not. If you guys are hearing any audio problems, if Zombie Grub's too loud or too quiet, etc., please do let me know so that I can try and adjust accordingly. But if you were watching this on the October 19th at 1:09 a.m. on the West Coast, then this is live. And if it's not that time and not that date, then this is not live. But yo, I've got some really exciting news as we watch the game unfold, just as a bit of an announcement here. So as many of you know, I have sadly had to cancel my trip to Chicago. We'll do the long story of that later, but for now, I am still planning 100% to be at both TwitchCon and BlizzCon. Like, even if I'm sick as a dog, I'll stay in my bedroom then with NyQuil until the parties come or something. But I'm going to those 100%. And today is the big day where the BaseTradeTV pins I ordered are supposed to arrive. They are fashioned after a little marble in the Marbles racing game, so I'm essentially handing out marble pins. And if you guys, like, I ordered 300 of these. I'm gonna bring every single one of them with me. If you guys see me at either of these events, please come up to me. Please take these off my hands, because I made them to give away specifically, not to hoard like some kind of pirate treasure.
You literally paid your own money like to make these, and then you hoarded it like pirate treasure. I don't think it's how pirates works, man.
I was born around it.
I mean, think about the investment strategy of a pirate for a moment, Zombie Grub. I'm gonna bury this in the ground and walk very far away and hope nobody else finds it.
You think that was an investment strategy? You think they were like, well, these gold coins are gonna really mature over the next 10 years?
The gold standard applied to the US dollar for long, long ago.
I'm not sure that's what they were thinking, but hey, I don't know.
I get all me financial advice from Ron Swanson.
oh my gosh, I have like the biggest headache. Maybe I shouldn't drink my coffee.
Maybe I shouldn't do the pirate accent then.
Yeah,
Diesel, thank you for the bits, man. The adept from Trap unfortunately wasn't able to really get in here. Attempts to scout a little bit, gets a basic knowledge of the base layout, sees 3 bases, knows what's going on in terms of like not seeing something cheesy out of Solar. And I don't think you would see something that cheesy out of Solar. It's just not really his play style, but it's a best of 7 for the Team League, but these are best of 1 games. So even players who are unconventionally cheesy might be willing to bust out some cheese for a quick win. Because I mean, that 1 point means a lot.
Absolutely. As far as I recall, because I brought up innovations, kind of like Team League performance prior 3 years ago at this point. But Solar also, was part of Samsung Galaxy back then, and I don't think he was ever
Galaxy Con.
Yeah, exactly. Actually, I don't know how often they say the con part. They went from Samsung Con to Samsung Galaxy Con.
I remember I was such a tryhard back in the days of Zotac, and I would make sure to we must say con, guys. I would tell that to the other people I was casting with. Nobody gave a single fuck. Nobody cared.
Yeah, I mean, even their like branded sweatshirts or whatever were just like Galaxy. I'm pretty sure.
I feel like the con was just like a legal necessity. No one cared that like it wasn't important.
Yeah, or like I don't know, just to make sure that I felt like it was a marker that it was the team, because of course Samsung Galaxy is a phone. But anyways, I forgot what I was gonna say. I was just talking about that, but right, I was gonna say Solar wasn't also that like cheesy. I think during his team leagues, like he did. There was a time where he was, he eventually proved that he was one of the best Zergs. He got really far in tournaments and actually won one, and that was great. But then he's never really been able to get back up there. I'm not saying it's because he doesn't cheese, but just like, yeah, I agree with you. He's not really a cheesy all-in type of guy. He can be really like, fun to watch with multi-pronged harassment and drops and stuff like that for sure. I think that's like part of the reason why we started to really enjoy watching him, but it wasn't necessarily because he was super cheesy. And this is some really good scouting with the Lings. I was like when Zerg players are doing this nowadays, but I don't think that Solar, despite that type of scouting, he's never actually gotten into the main base, so he has no idea that it's double Stargate. Well, now he does. Yeah. Yeah, suddenly you can't pick up that one last Hydra or something like that. I mean, Trap is continuing to build Phoenix and even getting +1 here. Now, it's not going to be like third Stargate into
I've been muted. Excellent.
carriers. Okay, well, anyways. Like we saw like once upon a time, like a long time ago. That's not really a thing anymore. It is going into Twilight Council and a Forge, but just like there is a necessity to keeping these Phoenix alive. You lose one, then you lose 4, and then suddenly you don't have enough for when they do send all the units forward. That doesn't seem to be Solar's plan. He gets a 4th base, he gets an Infestation Pit, now adding on a Baneling Nest, so he would just be purely Ling Hydra here.
Ooh, that's a nice stasis.
Yes, it is. The Lings are going to do too much, but... So this is getting to that point, especially with that +1 on the Phoenix, where maybe you do want to set down 2 Spore Crawlers, at least in like places where your army won't be rallied to type deal. But Solar might not want to be, that's safe. I mean, it's a little greedy what he could be doing by not going for a second Spore Crawler, but also could make sense if he was able to tag the Phoenix like everywhere they go. But seriously, 1 Spore Crawler, 1 Queen, that is not enough to deter Phoenix.
I think his idea was, I'll get enough Hydras fast enough that I won't need that, which is an admirable goal, but took so long to give it a full effect that he has bled out a lot. Funny enough, a Hydralisk is the perfect counter to a Phoenix, whether he's on the ground or in the sky.
Ah, good one.
Brood War joke.
Yeah, well. These Phoenix are going to continue bouncing forth in the main, and the 4th base is just the most obnoxious place that Trap can really abuse there, and he's going to grab a decent amount. Overlord's misrallied, Overseer a little slow. He is getting caught though every once in a while. Solar's doing a good job constantly paying attention, not letting him just idle with the Hydras while he builds up his Swarm Host count. Swarm Host, by the way, guys. And also while he kind of runs around with his Lings.
Interesting that it's Swarm Hosts for various amount of reasons, but the one I find most interesting is when you play something like this at a Trap, they're spending a lot of gas on the Phoenix, so typically their ground composition's like a lot of Zealots. Sure, Zealots don't shoot up, but they can actually deal with Swarm Hosts not too badly on their own, at least in terms of Locusts, so it's a little interesting to see Solar go for these.
I think the general idea is that most, if not all, Protoss strategy is based around getting that very scary army at least up to like the 150 supply, which he's currently at, and then like that means that they're staying at home. The only harassment they have is either like an Archon drop, which isn't much past a certain point, or the Phoenix in this case, right? So the Swarm Hosts ideally are going to get a lot of Locust Waves off before Trap tries to outmaneuver them, and as soon as he does, well, they're already out, so they can always just target down a Nexus. Those are some pretty good force fields, and then the Locusts should actually jump on top of what was going to be, I think there's like 6 High Templars there. One turns into an Archon desperately, but leaves only 2 High Templars left.
Yeah, 3 died. That was an interesting use of the Swarm Host. Not one I've really seen used before. To maneuver to the back lines in terms of like a straight-on engagement like that was cool and unique. And if that's Solar's plan from the get-go, then I really enjoy that plan, but oh boy. The Hydras are shooting the Zealots. They're not shooting down the Phoenix. They're the only things that can shoot up. And the Banelings and Zerglings are not trading out the way he wants us to. Like, the Swarm Host move was cool, but I guess numbers might still prevail. That seemed like a really ineffective fight out of Solar initially.
Yeah, initially, but it was just a numbers game. Yeah, Solar has those Swarm Hosts kind of eating up a lot of supply, so that 182 supply is not truly indicative, and the Locusts are popped out now. It's really scary, but it's still, even without those Locusts, quite a lot of Hydras, and he had done a very successful job of taking out most of the storms, so this seems to be like too much already. You know, if Trap was more mobile with his forces and realized it was Swarm Host earlier, or just had like a Warp Prism also, like, I don't know, like something going around, or simply had not taken any fights, had run away from the Locusts as opposed to kind of running into them to engage the Hydras, maybe this is a better looking game, and maybe Trap does keep his head above water here, but he's lost his Phoenix Force. This is no longer that scary. Yeah, pick up a couple of drones, sure, but it's not scary. And Solar is on, of course, 4 bases, 71 drones, and Trap is going to really struggle to get to his 4th base.
Phoenix Force 5. Well, 4, I guess.
Yeah, it's not.
Still works out for alliteration.
Yeah.
I love this though. The Locusts, even if they don't kill much, they're popping the stasis traps. They're opening away here for the Lings and the Banelings, and of course the Hydras to get in. Warp Prism gets denied, so no cool micro tricks for Trap. And Solar might not be able to just like move up a ramp due to fear of storms, but outside of this, I mean, that's a lot of Hydras.
That was some pretty cool Sim City that he used with the stasis traps. You know, it went about as well as you could hope, I suppose. Obviously, you can only try and bait them so much, but it worked out pretty well. He keeps all his High Templars alive. The storms are still available, not to let him get up to the high ground. Trap is holding, and again, above what 1 biddy supply, it's a really strong chance he can take on an army once the Locusts are away, but it's still very scary. He's going to go for what could have maybe been like a hidden nexus, but it is scouted. A couple Lings over the left side. It might be just too difficult to deal with. Locust once again not getting like super effective trades there. A lot of them caught in the stasis, but there goes the Oracle.
Ooh, and there goes the probes.
Oh gosh. Yes, indeed. There it goes. Hydras are sacrificed for that, so that was a more, I guess, army to army, maybe efficient trade for Trap, but
Yeah, actually, look at the resources lost. Almost even.
that actually, like, yeah, I can believe that. I feel like sometimes, I mean, that might not be a great sign if this was a regular Zerg composition, because it's Swarm Host, though. That is a good sign for Trap. Okay, well, Trap, what? Wait, had like a ton of units go one way and some units go the other way? Was that on purpose? Might have been.
I think you got pathfinding.
Yeah, I think, yeah. Never mind.
I think if there's more Templar with this initially, then it was on purpose, but, you know, it was like 4 Immortals and 1 Templar caught out like that. Now, funny, the Solar's the one who's getting kind of sandwiched in here still, but, I mean, mission accomplished, right? He shut down the 4th base while he took his own 5th. I mean, he's set up, he's good to go. He's moving towards Broodlords, which seems a little funny considering Phoenix are still in the sky, but Phoenix singular, not a problem.
Yeah, that definitely, I mean, if he was trying to get like a surround, he just mistimed it, and otherwise it was probably just AI'd on one of the other weaknesses, I guess, of taking that top left base. But he was always going to be weak to that.
You know what? I didn't realize how bad this was. So if like, was that Shift A, like the army graph? It was like not bad for a while. And even then there was a bad fight, but man, Trap supply has not recovered.
No, it hasn't. Yeah. He was doing that thing where like suddenly, you know, like, oh, okay, like the Protoss is holding. Oh, okay, like this might be okay. But, you know, he's always going to have trouble dealing with the eventual Broodlords, and he was always going to be at risk of being outpositioned once he reached for 4th base, because he couldn't get the more like accessible one to the right because of all the pressure he was dealing with. So it felt almost inevitable that something like that would happen. But obviously, like, it is just one of those things where maybe if he had sacrificed the 4th base, he still would have a decent army supply, as opposed to being now down below 100.
Ooh. GG. I mean, that was a dead man walking, and Solar claims game 1 as victory for his team. Which is pretty nice, I gotta say. Also, it's just weird. Like Trap's so prolific. Like he's got a big name. He's got good history. It's weird watching him die like that, but I think that in a world where this was like a typical best of 3, where Trap could still win 2-1, this would be the 1. And this 1 is the only one that matters. So, unfortunately, he'll fall to the wayside and may or may not come back later for the 2v2. I don't think do we know the 2v2 roster? Was that posted?
Yeah, it is, usually. Okay. Oh, it's the... Wow! Excuse me, it's the Korean names. Okay, so Dark isn't playing for his team, so the other 2 guys on Dark's team still learn stats.
Your process of eliminating this, that's how that works?
And then it's Classic and Trap. Yeah.
Ooh, I like this next game though, guys. We got Stats versus Cure for game 2.
Cool. Kira's been like, have you been watching the Signature series?
No.
Okay.
That's the YouTube stuff they put up for BlizzCon, right?
Yeah. So they, like, of course, 2 of them were Jin Air, right? Maru and Rogue. And Kira's been kind of, he was asked questions a lot about Maru, and then he was asked a decent amount by Rogue. He's like been kind of like an accidental star of the Signature series as well, because he was talking, like, Rogue would talk about how Kira would practice till 3 a.m. and then watch VODs before he went to sleep. Like, huge respect to Kiri. He tries really hard.
Well, we'll talk about that in a moment. Let's get in the game first. It's Fracture. Well, the game got paused. Stats needs to fix something here. Gives us a little bit of extra time now to gush over what I wanted to discuss. And that was, excuse me, you brought up the point where he was talking about how he'd done a lot of practice and late nights and etc. And I think that was really evident to folks like you and myself who were big fans of Cure from the get-go. Kind of the poor guy who was forced to sit on the bench despite having the skills to pay the bills. When he finally got quote unquote unleashed and like he was allowed to play in offline tournament or online tournaments, maybe not, like he was still forced to sit on the bench and be a practice partner for his team. We at least got a taste of him in online things, and Cure really blew us away. And I think that's why he was I was cheering for him really hard at that one Red Bull event, even though he lost. So I know this guy's put the effort, the work, and the time in, and I think it's taken longer than I think anyone, himself included, would have liked for him to get to the point where he is now. And I think he's still got some way to go, but Cure's definitely one of my favorite Terran players in Korea right now.
Yeah. Not sure what Stats is asking, but he's asking Crank something. But I don't think Crank put himself on referee, or rather, let's blame the right person, guys. Ryung didn't put him on referee.
Bloody Ryung.
Nah. Once again, I proved myself the best hobby maker. No, just kidding. Or am I? Anyways, yeah, it's really cool though that like obviously Rogue and Maru and Special, and then I guess Cyril's the last one that's about to come out. All get these really cool stories. Like they did a really good job of like picking a story and kind of like drawing it out, maybe embellishing, maybe not. But Kira accidentally got like his story told a little bit too, just because he was such a dedicated person. And it's unfortunate though, like that Maru kind of had, I mean, people always like hate to use the word talent, right? But that's kind of the case. It's like Maru is just like super, super talented, and Cure, even when he's putting in more hours, this is kind of what it sounds like, still was unable to really reach the great heights. And the closest he got was that Red Bull event that you talked about. That's probably the closest he got to being like the next big Terran.
Well, in the bottom right to kick off Fracture after a very delayed start, perhaps the most delayed start I've ever experienced to a game. He is anxious and ready to go, so he sends an SCV out across the map. Perhaps is it to scout the mineral field? Nope. It's gonna be a proxy out of Cure.
There. The top left as the red Protoss. His stats. Splice stats.
Splice's stats. Okay, so proxy meta, we've talked about this 12.5 times. You guys are probably bored, but just to reiterate for those who might not be following a lot of StarCraft, this is a pretty common thing right now. Terran players are just having no luck playing their own passive greedy game. They're almost forced to, depending on who you're listening to do these proxies, or at least they feel forced to. Either way, it's never really always a commitment. It's not necessarily the factory and the starport going down across the field, but even just the barracks and then lifted can do enough pressure to make Cure feel better about the early game. And it looks like he might just be going all on board with this. Guess if he stays here.
Well, he didn't take a lot of gas. That's odd. Well, I guess he went for a Reaper is more accurate. So instead of going for
He's
like
gonna do
Marine
it.
and then sitting
Factory.
down a factory immediately, he waits a little while longer to get the factory. I feel like this should mean that it's definitely not double Cyclone then. Unless it's a different version of the double Cyclone opener. But it's not something that Stats could scout anyways, unless he actually saw the proxy.
Yeah, and talking on that for a moment, what's kind of very awkward for Stats is, obviously the probe gets in here, it sees nothing in the Terran's main base, and immediately Stats. Red flags, right? But we've also been seeing this weird thing that's been like a meta of the meta, where Terran players have been doing proxies, but more like down here outside of their base, just hoping to mind game the Protoss player a little bit. So it's one thing to say like Stats needs to confirm this, but it's another to just say like with the recent play we've seen out of a lot of these Korean Terrans, he really needs to confirm this.
We're about to get the proper idea what's going on. Is it going to be a swap over? It is a swap over. So you're going to have 2 Cyclones at a time. If there is going to be a starport, it's going to be later on. And now he makes the Marine. But that's something that Stats would have really liked to have known. So this is where I'm actually kind of glad we get to see this, because I think Zest was doing a lot of defenses against proxies with Stargate. And I was like, he's making it work. He's not screwing up, which feels like has a faster snowball effect when you try and defend with a Stargate than it does with a Robo. But I feel like he's only getting away with the Stargate defense because it's not double Cyclone. It was like against Alive or something, I don't remember. So now we're going to see what it looks like against double Cyclone with now a bunker on the way, a grenades, I guess, to help some city a little bit, or crowd control rather.
Even if the Oracle was out in time for this, which it's not, the Cyclones have got that lock on. The SCVs for the repair are a nice little touch, and that bunker's, like, funny enough, might not even be necessary to this.
I don't think it is. Like, Stats...
You know what I want
to...
Sorry, go on.
Okay, if this was 1 Cyclone at a time, there was a starport on the way, then I think the Stargate's fine enough. 2 Oracles to beat 1 Cyclone and whatever else comes with it. But I think Stats just was willing to give up that Nexus once he realized. But it might be too late.
The SCVs are giving each other the hug of life, only for the Oracle to come in and steal it, but 4 Cyclones with lock-ons, even with a shield battery, that Oracle is finding difficulty staying alive.
Yeah. It soaks up an entire shield battery's worth of energy
Lordy.
there.
Oh,
and this other
Lordy.
one's really helping the probes. That's not exactly ideal.
I mean, Cure is losing out on the other side of the field, but I think Stats is losing out on the game.
Yeah, yeah. Well, at least my theory was correct, at least. I think if double Cyclone, then you actually, like, Stargate is one of the hardest ways to defend against it. GG.
I didn't even see the One of Mine follow-up. The ultimate dick move. Cure ties up the series very swiftly, 1-1.
Oh, yeah.
But I was going to say, you know what I would have loved to... I want to see some variation of this. I don't even think it would necessarily be a good tactic, but if you get in a position like that with Cure, go like old school Terran. Like if you want to meme on somebody, like this is smurfing tactics, right? Use the Cyclones to kill the destructible rocks, put down 2 engineering bays at the bottom of the ramp, and just laugh.
Could that really be worth it?
No, but I think it's like better than dropping Manor Mules.
Oh, gosh.
Anyways, guys, that's going to be our first, I guess, quick break of the day. So we'll be back in 2 minutes as we get the next lobby up. See you soon. Okay, we gotta skip the intro. We're going to Lost and Found. It's classic versus dark. Dark. This is why I'm skipping the intro, guys. I want you to look at Dark's portrait. I forgot they put this in the game. It's so stupid.
God, I didn't even see that put in the game. Oh my god.
Yeah, it came with the it just unlocked, right? The WCS portraits and stuff all got put out too. So
That's what I figured. But when it was spamming me with all the portraits, I just gave up on looking at them. I was like, okay, I get it. It's all the BlizzCon attendees.
wait, what's with these drones? What skin is this?
One of the older ones, I guess. I don't know. Oh wait, isn't the Brood War? It's the Brood War one.
They look so weird. I don't like it. Look at their hand. Look at their arms.
They're skinny. They need to get buff again.
Right?
Yeah, basically all the Brood War skins is everything got skinnier.
Do you even lift, bro?
No.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, game number 3 in this best of 7. Next up's going to be the 2v2, but for the last 1v1 for the time being, in the bottom left side of the map, we have the Blue Zerg Dark.
In the top right is the Red Protoss. He is classic for Gosu crew.
I just realized how this doesn't make any sense.
What?
Why does the Zerg unit have the Protoss eyeballs?
I'm not sure. I guess because they're the ones that get 2-gated. Right? It's a 2-gate's usually strategy against Zerg. I don't know.
This is like, for me, you know what I see that portrait and I'm just like, Blizzard, hello fellow youth. Like, they saw that there was a meme about this. They kind of followed it a little bit because of its popularity, but didn't understand it. Or maybe I'm the old person. I don't know. I just don't get that portrait. Like, I get the 2-gate meme part of it.
Yeah, someone's gonna have to, like, I don't know. I didn't really pay attention to it. There's like, I feel like, and this is gonna sound a bit bad, I guess, but StarCraft Reddit is just so desperate for continuous memes, right? And this is like only somewhat of a shade being thrown, but you know, like as soon as like a meme is made and it's great, like I really think StarCraft Reddit needs to have the joke threads and the meme threads and everything else, you know, because it's fun that way. But when they make a meme, they like just beat that horse to death,
right,
man. Just beat it. And that was one of them. So I'm like, I don't know what the appropriate meme was. I don't know.
There was a college humor skit I remember linking, and I got downvoted like crazy for this. But it was the college humor. The title was like that one friend who keeps telling the same joke or something, right? And the TLDR of his girl in the office tells a joke. Everyone thinks it's funny. They laugh. And it's about cheerleading or something, right? Comes to the next day at the office dressed as a cheerleader. Haha, okay, a little funny joke. Next day at the office as a cheerleader, full makeup, brings pom-poms for everyone else to have. It's like, you gotta let it go. And that's how I felt with this stupid eyeball proxy meme thing.
Yeah. Yep. Agreed. And then they also kind of beat the guy who made the statue. I was funny for the first couple of days, and then I was like, okay, we're done here.
You know whose fault that one was, though? That's on Artosis. You get him posting memes, and everyone's gonna follow suit.
Yeah, he even made an emote for it.
Yeah.
Like,
gotta latch onto that Brood War Hydra. But
yeah, exactly.
Rob's Club, thank you for that Twitch Prime sub. 3 bases taken very quickly for Dark, and Classic did scout this, so it's no mysteries to what's going on, but he's chosen to probably not really react to this. He's just doing what I think he was going to do anyways, and that's the proxy, or not the proxy, the non-proxy. I got the goddamn pylons on my brain now. He's going for, or the gateways, he's going for Dark Shrine, he's going for the Robo, it's going to be Archons, it's going to be everything you're used to seeing, but if he reads into this, like, he may actually go for the DTs for the actual attack first, then the Archons, rather than straight to Archons. When you see a third base like that, you know that's a lot of minerals that's not invested in additional queens or zerglings, so he might just see an opportunity to get some damage done with the DTs. Kind of hope he does, to be honest. I
feel like you should almost always try DTs. Like, there's not even really something you can see. Because even if some people start off with, like, a Stargate, right? Like, even if they already have Spore Crawlers, or rather the Zerg guesses you have a Stargate, so they build a couple, even that isn't really a sign not to try the DTs, because they also need army. So in this case, Dark is going to have a well-timed lair for this. He didn't delay it till 4 minutes or beyond, so it's actually really well-timed. If he immediately makes an Overseer too. And he's at least one Spore Crawler on the way, but he has to also have units. So the Roach Warren finishes, but he's not making units. And this is where DTs could, again, get a lot of damage done. He does immediately make an Overseer, though. That's really nice. I mean, at this point, like, we're talking about things that have been beaten to death. It's like DTs have once again kind of, like, risen to that that role of like, okay, I get it, you can open up with DTs, because it went out of fashion and then it was brought back in fashion. So even these amount of queens is enough to deal with the DTs.
Oh, I like grabbing one of the queens there, though.
like
That's pretty
classic.
nice.
Classic, you're too late to this party, man. Zess has already abused this strategy again, and all the Zergs are aware of it.
Ah, classic. Picking up the scraps of zest. Sounds like classic, am I right?
Does it though?
All absolutely unnecessary jokes aside, I do really like Dark's handling of the situation, I guess. I think we've actually seen quite a few Zerg players who get greedy around this, and they pay the price. Like getting Roaches out quick, that Overseer right off the bat, fast layer, like there was just no chance. Even with the double Warp Prism, there's like very little chance he does damage with this.
And it was maybe possible. It wasn't a ton of units, but now it's going to be a ton of units. Stark's not playing around anymore.
Well, speaking of memes, Shalaska. Shalashka? Hey, Jessica, you look like a nice stream today.
Yeah,
Well, thank you.
it's hilarious.
This is... I really like the double Warp Prism. There's a lot to be said about this. Not even from a balance standpoint, but just like a catch you off guard standpoint. But Dark has gone for the counterattack. You just have to keep in mind, Classic's not going to have almost anything at home to defend because of how invested he is in the double Warp Prism. If it was a single Warp Prism, I don't know he'd get away with this so easily, but knowing full well what's on this side of the map, grabs another Archon, and he's handling this. He's handling everything. As he gets into the natural base, there's an Immortal out, but there should be enough Roaches here to take on the Immortal, even with the barrier. A recall is instated to try and get those Archons back home. He desperately needs the two that survive.
Not sure that amount of damage is worth it. You know, he's intentionally targeting the queens, trying to keep that Warp Prism just alive and well for as long as possible. And he certainly has. Both of them are still fantastic. They're going to be used later on. But a severe delay on a third base, which is actually only so bad considering that Dark's still only on 3 bases himself. Then losing the Immortal, losing 2 Archons, Queens, I feel like eventually just like, it's like, was it really that great? You know, Dark could definitely replace those now that he has time to breathe. And then he also has the Spire that Classic did not get far enough into the base to scout. I did, but did he actually pay attention to it? I may have thought that was a Spore Crawler or something.
Even if he did, what can you do? Like, gotta deal with the Roaches first before you can even think about dealing with those Mutas. Maybe start a blink on the backside, cancel the charge, I don't know, but... Well, Muta's confirmed now at this point. Warp Prism goes down, that's huge! Jones go for this round on the Archons, I don't know if that's the right move!
Yeah, I don't know about that, man. But every single army unit besides the Mutas, and they won't deal well with Archons at this low of a number, was across the map. So... the drones were the only thing on the ground to help fight. Now, it loses the first few Mutas. I would say that you could really argue that they do their job as long as they get the Warp Prisms, though. And, of course, one is down. Another one is still alive, coming out forward with the army. Classic, certainly all in with this. Might have a decent number of probes, but doesn't seem to be any intention to take the third Nexus. As it is 2 base to 3, he might still be okay. He might be right in doing this. But he's got to be very careful with that Warp Prism. He's going to need at least some anti-air in case Dark? Wow, okay, I just went there. Dark goes for the mass Muta strategy, but Dark seems to be done with his Muta production. Only 5, and is now back into Roaches and Ravagers.
Darsic sounds like the name out of like a Pride and Prejudice chapter or something.
Not quite Darcy, but it's Darsic.
So Darsic.
He's the perfect pro gamer in our minds, just like Darcy's the perfect man in some other minds.
Pride and Prejudice and Zombies is what I was obviously referencing, by the way, guys. Shorthand Pride and Prejudice, but as the attack pushes in, I mean, the Mutas clear out the probe, so that's great, but the Mutas actually can't take this army on.
Oh, started laughing at him?
He is laughing at him.
Or he's laughing at himself, because he's going to lose.
I mean,
I don't know.
It's tough to say, because he is literally killing all the probes, and there's nothing to stop him. I think maybe... My thoughts are between Broodlings and drones buffering for the Roaches. As long as the Ravagers and Roaches keep kiting, Dark can win this. Drones get pulled for that buffer once again. The Archons push back, starts crushing the army, and he's still got a third base mining behind this. I think Dark's got it.
Oh, no, GG.
Ooh. Dark. The D in Dark stands for dick.
Maybe a little. It's kind of,
well,
he does this stuff.
That's going to conclude the 1v1s for now. So, I know it's a little confusing if you've never watched this before, but to give you guys an idea of what's coming up next, it's a 2v2. It's Pro 2v2. It's not for laughs and shits and giggles. It is for a point in the score, as things are 2-1 at the moment, but also, more importantly, for the team to get a revival as you go into this last half all-kill format style. So right now, for Classics team, if they don't win this 2v2, who's the only one? Cure? Cure's gonna be the only one that has to fight off all of Stats, Dark, and Solar.
Yes.
Tough situation to be in. But, yeah, we'll get this set up. It's usually Emerald City. I don't think we've seen any variation in the 2v2 maps. It's been consistently the same one over and over again. Also, while we get into this game, there's a comment Ricky D made earlier. Ricky, if you're still tuning in, I hope you've heard my train joke. I'm not going to tell it right now because it's long, but I feel like you informing me that you almost ran another train over with your train tonight makes me think you're a bad conductor.
All right. Taking bets, guys.
Uh-oh. Hey, what's up? It's Apollo's butt and Blazer.
Hey, Apollo's bet. Look at this tail wagging. They're gonna fight again soon.
Apollo doesn't have a tail.
Yes, he does. It's just very short. Please, technicalities. Apollo.
Oh shit, no, Ricky D says it wasn't almost. I did hit another train. I screwed up, but at least nobody hurt, no damage. Well, shit, dude. That's good. I'm glad you're not hurt. That would have fucked up. How are you going to play Beast of the Hill if you get in a train accident, man? Thank you for the bits, P-Knuckle. I liked Apollo coming up to the camera like that. Blazer doesn't... Well, Apollo's a star, right? This is the difference. Blazer doesn't know better. It's like, what's a camera? Apollo's like, it's the thing that makes you famous on the internet, you idiot, so come be cute in front of it.
Right? Apollo loves being famous.
Swipe at him. Swipe at him. Do it.
Do it.
Just bap him.
Do it.
Not even like an angry one.
No.
Aw.
He's done fighting. He won't, you know, promote cat fighting.
I won't promote violence between my kind. There's so few of us to begin with.
Oh, God.
All right, well, folks, it's Cure and Trap versus Solar and Stats. Protoss is integral to winning a 2v2. So both players getting the Protoss on their team. It's the right move.
Yeah. Yeah, it is, honestly. You're right.
All right, you guys didn't get to hear those gross sounds I was making. We're getting into game number... Well, let's be honest. It's just this. The 2v2 is what it is, but it's game 4 in the overall series. Spawning here in the top left, despite the scoreboard being the opposite. They are up 2 points. We've got the combination of Solar and his ally Stats.
In the bottom right is the Purple Terran. He's Cure. And his partner, Trap.
And yes, once again, we are on Emerald City. This is Crank's QCL Power Overwhelming Pro Team League, guys. It's been a lot of fun. I hope you've enjoyed it. I'm glad we've gotten to cast it, despite the bumpy road that is the Korean server. And yes, I've seen it brought up a couple times. You're not seeing frame drops. Everything's fine. It's just our connection to Korea, which is inconsistent and uncontrollable. And no VPNs do not help. That being said, it might get even worse in a 2v2, but funny enough, so far, knock on wood, this is actually the smoothest game cast yet, as there's little to no stutters, despite having more people involved with the game.
Cool. Just lucky.
Have I ever considered moving to Korea? Oh, fuck no.
Have you ever considered solving your problems by just lifting up your entire life and moving
Like a
to
command center.
Oh my God, that should be amazing. If that's what having command center meant, I would get a command center.
I've been to Korea, guys. I think it's a really cool place. I've got nothing really bad to speak in terms of it, but I don't like a lot of the food that they have there. I'm not a fan of spicy stuff. I don't speak the language. I don't think I would enjoy living in Korea, to be honest.
I would, but I'd have to bring my cat.
You know what the best part about living in Korea would be, though, for like regards to a StarCraft 2 career?
Being able to cast QCL occasionally.
Yeah, knowing that there's no requirements, that they'll take any bottom feeder as long as you speak English and are willing to work for cheap.
I feel like there's shade being thrown, but I also
there is.
that is actually totally accurate though.
I know.
So I also can't.
It's like the one time I get to make that comment where it is both accurate and a little shitty.
Yeah.
But in all seriousness, guys, I think Korea is a cool place to visit. We went there. Well, I went there. I've been there multiple times a couple years back, and I would absolutely 10 out of 10 recommend going at some point just to check it out. It's so different, just like even walking down the streets and stuff there. But as far as the TV2,
Not you.
well, I was just gonna start talking about nothing because I thought we had nothing to talk about.
We're moving on. Yeah.
It's moving on. Dude, Joey got to go to the Midnight in person. I want to see them in a concert sometime.
Wait, you went to the Midnight? I thought he went to something else.
I thought it was him. Maybe it was someone else. I saw someone post a Twitter feed though, and like, they did not look how I thought they looked, by the way, in person.
Oh, because he asked me if I wanted to go because he went to Dance of the Dead or something.
Or maybe
like
that's
that.
what. Yeah, Joey went to Dance to this. Someone else went to the Midnight show.
Yeah, I wanted to go to the Midnight show. I saw that they were near me, but it was on a Friday. I was casting, I think. Oh, the show match. That's what it was. So plus, I mean, I say I want to go, but more likely I would have been like, I kind of want to go, and then I wouldn't have actually wanted to travel to DC and then travel back at night in DC because that's the sketch. So I've never actually gone to concerts and probably never will.
Well, the Oracle grabs quite a few kills here. Unfortunately, there's no typical Workers Lost tab, but we can look at this one. 6 go down to that, despite having a Phoenix out for response. And we should have been Queens to defend. Not bad. But keep in mind, this is something where in 2v2s, despite we haven't seen much of it, if you did take a lot of damage, your ally could float you a couple minerals to help bridge that gap that you normally wouldn't be able to do on your own.
Mm-hmm.
Ooh, but guys, no. We're gonna address this straight up because this guy's trolling. I'm gonna give a nice fat ban here to I like trees 420, mostly just because, you know what? Not even a ban. We'll just do a timeout because he can't read the rules. Can you guys cast the game? Can you read the rules to being in chat? Thanks.
I guess you can't. Not that there's a whole lot going on in the beginning. We could have talked. We could have done the caster thing where we say the same thing as we did the last dozen times there was a 2v2, and that Phoenix are the way to go. And
Whoa.
I would have talked about how I like Terran. I see the same thing. And that I like Terran Protoss more than I like Zerg Protoss as a team. That's something we really would have covered. And now we get into more interesting things as they've actually macroed and have things going on.
So yeah, right. This is where it gets really interesting to me for a couple different reasons. Without a doubt in my mind, Phoenix are the staple part of the 2v2 that everyone's playing around, right? It's not that Solar's playing against Kira on their own. They're both playing against the other team's Phoenix and the use of them. And right now, the Phoenix count's going to go for Trap in a big way, but where I might like Zerg, I'm not saying I will, but where I might like Zerg as a partner better than Terran is in terms of dealing with a Phoenix. I think the power of something like a Fungal Growth far exceeds the power of something like a EMP in this sort of situation, in terms of what you can add to this. We saw TY, granted his team is dead, but TY showed some of the coolest stuff in one of the 2v2s using a lot of Widow Mines, but I mean, realistically, whether it's Zerg, whether it's Terran, it still boils down to the Phoenix.
See, I'm on the opposite, where I actually feel like, first of all, they'd have to actually get Fungals, which is a whole issue. And then, even if they get Fungals, they're still usually defensive, because there's no Burrow Fungal anymore. It might be a little hard to go out with the team and try and catch the other person off guard. And then if they don't go for Fungals, they go for Hydras, I would say that Stim Marines are just, better, pound for pound, and in terms of following around their Phoenix, so... I definitely like Terran more for this, unless the Zerg gets a couple of really nasty spells, which is what happened to TY's team in that match.
You are 100% correct on the whole, it's difficult to get the infestors out, but the reason I think about that too is just if it is going to be a lot of bio, as we would predict, you grab the Phoenix, you grab the Marines, all within the same fungal, and suddenly 80 army supply dies in both players' hands. Not suddenly, over time. Right, slowly over time. But the point is, I feel like there's just more potential. I'm not saying it is better or it is going to be the way to deal with it. I want to see it come out, though. For now, at the time being, though, nobody seems to be going that direction. We don't see Ghost or what am I coming out of Cure. He's sticking to Marine Tank. Solar sticking to Bailings. He's got speed so close to finishing, but not in time for this fight.
Yeah, you know, he really delayed his lair, yet not really going up to an extreme amount of drones, just trying to focus purely on getting a Ling Bailing defense. But because his lair was late and Difficult Hooks is late, there's not Creepsword over here either for him to help out. And what felt like it was intentional to take on the pure bio army on the grounds is not actually scary yet, not without that speed. So it's finally finishing, but again, it's off creep, so it's like, you know, it's halfway to being a very good defense. So this is a lot of pressure.
Stats does not have the Phoenix to take this count on. That's a big problem because you would have loved to just dipped in there, lift up the tank, and allow Solar to roll in. But the Phoenix count is so out of hand, 9-4 right now. And yeah, there's a small Link counterattack that did depower one of the Stargates. So that's kind of a nice move from Solar to delay some production, but this is hardly game-winning damage. Now, if these Bailings finish up and 2 go to each mineral line, maybe that's different, but that's a big what if.
We did see a ping. I mean, it was like someone's got to notice, right? Here does take the time away from the main army fight, but that might have been a mistake. Okay, he does manage to pull back. Tank is a couple of decent shots in the Bailings. It just ended up being a numbers thing. Kira could no longer stick around with all of his reinforcements still back at home, and so he just lifts up and gets away, which is totally possible because his teammate is winning the Phoenix War. And the only way that his teammate loses that Phoenix War is either one of them is just a little overeager, which, you know, that was a really nice little attack. It didn't stop, it didn't kill Stats' third base like I think they were hoping for, but they should still feel very confident. You know, their 3 base, your 3 base, and then the Phoenix count winning is usually a very good sign for the 2v2 team. Repair Phoenix? That's something you can do. I guess we never really bought that up. That's the benefit of having Terran with Protoss.
Medivacs can also heal Zerg, but not that that'll come into play for this game.
Yeah. Yeah, you know, Char does make a way into it.
I remember
Medevac Char looks really good.
It was deep in hot where there's some people who are convinced that like Medevac Mutalisk or Medevac Ultralisk would be the greatest combination of all time. And ended up just being like super weak sauce.
Yeah. Well, as someone who's played mono battles before with Medevacs on, because it's like a toggle button, I've done Medevacs on mutas. You just even when you're boosting constantly, you never keep up with it, and Thors will still wreck you. So it's not really that helpful.
Yeah, play proxy planetaries instead. Hope for the best. Don't play mono battles with me, by the way, guys. I've Cannon Rush. I've lost subscribers over mono battles.
Oh yeah, yeah. That was a good one though. That was a good one. So this is Trap goes for the other 4th base because the Lings are giving a hard time. Another push down the middle. Cure looking to clean up some creep spread. Solar, like, really, he was pushing this creep spread. Then he had to, you know, an emergency go over to the left side. Now he's back to the middle, but it's just not a lot. So 1 scan will clean most of it up. There is a bit of a run by with the Lings and Banelings, but it doesn't look like they got too much.
Now the cannons really shut this down. The Phoenix cannon's still favoring Trap. It's getting less worse, but I mean, just like Muta versus Muta, having a few extra Phoenix matter the most in these engagements.
And Trap still at 4 above stats, a number here. Both of them having the range, but only Trap having the +1. Trap's just straight up winning that war, and there's really not much unless he runs over the Hydras to help out. Off and creep into a concave. That just was not going to go well.
No, the Marines should be able to push through with their 2-2. Solar's got basically no upgrades. Even with the Bailings finishing up, Cure's not slacking. The Phoenix count is so one-sided, and the Marines are supposed to be on top of this to help too, as Solar gets beaten senseless. Cure's the most army supply out of anyone in the game. In fact, he's got as much army supply as all other 3 players combined. Cure's running away with this game.
Nice. I don't know how the defending team is going to take a better fight, though, to be honest. I know it looks a little silly, but they're back up against the wall, especially since they were losing the Phoenix War from such an early point in that 2v2.
Well, that's going to tie the overall scores between the teams now up 2-2. And Cure's team really needed this because now they have some revives. As we get into the second half of the best of 7, it's still like first to 4 points wins and all that, but it's an all-kill format now. So you can have one player possibly carry your team. We saw Gumiho do that. Remember, it was like back from the brink of defeat. They were down like 0-3 and then just oof.
Yeah, so, yeah. TY almost did it too. Almost.
So for each of these teams, the possibility of a revive is huge. Having a strong player on your roster is huge. There's a lot of consideration that goes into the second half of the best of 7. But as we figure out the players, as we get into the all-kill format, we're going to go to a small break. So thank you guys for watching, and we'll be back with more soon. If the ads even work.
So I need the dark. Without you here, I wouldn't never see the stars. I'm headed for you. Put on the gas. I'm coming straight at you, no looking back.
You are my star. We are connected, missiles ready to the high. You are my star. We are connected, missiles ready to the high.
Then we collide.
I'm here, I'm your statue. Your heart is a magnet, I'm coming at you. Girl, you're my target, I'm aiming at you. You're a comet, I'm trying to catch you. We can break any rule they ever taught you. Forget about anything they ever bought you. Cause me and you don't need a lot in this world to get by. Plus, you know I got you, you pull me in. I don't resist, time seems to fly, but the clock doesn't tick. I crash into you, we both feel the hit. We both feel the way that our chemicals mix, and I wish that
Just keep my eyes shut. Maybe this time you'll be enough.
So I need the dark. Without you here, I wouldn't never see the stars. I'm headed for you. Put on the gas. I'm coming straight at you, no looking back.
You are my star. We are connected, missiles ready to the high. You are my star. We are connected, missiles ready to the high.
Well, we're back from break, and we're still going to be waiting for a short time for the players to get into this lobby, as both teams have to figure out who they want to field going into this. It's kind of a blind pick for the first match. After that, you can obviously react with the players you have in your back pocket, but I want to bring this up as a more of a PSA thing than a begging thing, and I know somebody's going to misread this as just like Rifkin's like trying to mind game us for money, guys. So it's pretty much confirmed now through these 2 breaks we've taken that the ads are not going to work on the channel. Really sucks. If people are saying they're seeing ads, you're probably seeing a pre-roll ad, which we don't have control over. But I have my suspicions when we tried to play the first ad, and the second one is definitely not working. So on one hand, it's a bit of a bummer because it's like, hey, I still have to pay Zombie Grub at the end of the day. I'm just going to make no money off today's cast, and that's fine. Whatever, fucking deal with it. But I'm just saying this because I would like to highlight, and I know that this is like a shitty way of almost advertising, but just highlight how much extra things like supporting the Patreon and subscribing to the channel and like the consistent stuff matters for days like this. Like, I'm not sweating. I'm not going to be pulling my bank account overdrawn to pay Zombie Grub to cast this or anything, right? But the point is, like, you guys who do the extra work, whether it's subscribing monthly for many months in a row or whether it's the Patreon support, like, just a big thank you, guys. Because I super appreciate in times and days like this where things aren't working. And Ricky D as well, thank you for the 400 bits, the $4 holla. But on happier and other things, looks like we got Dark coming up for one of the teams. So he's in the player slot. Just waiting to find out who's going to fight against Dark.
Well, the choices are Kier and actually anyone, right?
Anyone, because they have the revive. Yeah.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, so it would have only been Kier if they lost, but since they won, it's anyone. But it also, like, if they had won the first 2 games and then won that one, they also would have had any choice. But anyways,
while you were speaking, by the way, two donations come in. Codename 1 considered giving us $3. Oh wait, I don't actually have that on this overlay, do I? No, that's on the solo cast overlay. He gave us $3 and Anonymous tipped 5. Thank you guys both. And boom, TTSC2 for that 4-month resub.
thank you.
Yeah, I've got the sweetest thing. It's just like consider. I saw Asmongold doing this. It's just the donation goal of $3, and I do this when I'm solo casting, and it just says consider giving me $3. And so far, every time I've done that, I've made $3 on stream, at least in a 4-hour period. If you guys don't know how much streamers make, oh, we're just rolling in the dough, guys. With money like that coming in, I'm buying like 5 houses. Just you wait and see. $3 at a time.
That will buy you 3 houses, 5 houses. Even.
What's that American? Is it Detroit? You can get like a house for $1 because the neighborhood's so shitty or something. Like,
I mean, have you seen the movie It Follows?
no.
Oh, okay. Great movie, by the way. Definitely watch it, especially with Halloween coming up. But no, it's set in Detroit. And it's just like the saddest looking place, I swear to God. And yeah, like the houses is just no one really wants to live in certain parts of it. So
That sucks.
buy a bunch of different houses and just, fix them all up, man.
Well, big thing to Fatty Boombo Laddie. 1,000 bits. Thanks for the cast of this hour. Much appreciated, dude. We actually have Trap who has stepped up to the plate. Let's see you guys on Blue Shift. I like this idea from Ricky D. Let's take over Detroit, then I'll buy 5,000 houses at $1 a pop. We can make an esports city where everybody moves there and gets robbed. It's gonna be terrible. Although I guess if you did buy enough city blocks, like eventually.
Just a gated community of 5,000 houses.
It's a gated city at that point, but all right, we are in game number 5. Things have been tied up 2-2. We're now in the all-kill half of the best of 7. Spawning in the bottom left, we have the purple Protoss Trap.
In the top right, we have the red Zerg Dark. Kind of forced to go for a pool gas first, who traps pylon block.
Also, big thank you to Alaska Winter 923 for the 328 bits, as well as Where's the Eddie Key? Give it the 2 months. In the StarCraft 1 campaign, that's probably, or was it Brood War? I don't remember which, but that's probably like one of my favorite like jokes. I always thought it was so funny as a kid. When the Marine walks up to the console and he's like, hit the Eddie key to continue. Which key's the Eddie key?
I don't really remember that, but
I think that, thinking back on it, that might be the root of my dad jokes, dude.
I don't know about that. There's got to be some more influences that have happened in your life.
I don't know, man. I'm just saying Blizzard and Mr. Mike Morheim might just be responsible for the bad humor you guys get on this channel.
Okay, all right then. Well, we do have Dark going for that faster gas, but not really using it that much. I mean, he's up to 128 gas, 152, 136, 140. It's not using it. Maybe use this one. What's it gonna be? What's happening? What's happening? What's going on? What's the deal? If he could go for speed and a lair at the same time, but he starts on the queen, so.
Dude, we need like a Seinfeld soundbite for like, what's up with that? Like 150 gas. What's up with that? 200 gas now.
Well, what's up with that? What's up with it? He could go for a lair with the natural, but that's just so risky. Unless he's gonna go for like, no, because it'd be a really early lair. I don't know.
I mean, the thing is, banking gas isn't that crazy, but it's the fact that he's very intentionally skipping over speed that has me looking at this like, okay, lair into Nidus Worm? Question mark?
Yeah. It's one of those things where, like, yes, he would be oversaturated on the one base he was given if he pulled the guys off of gas. So, like, maybe you say, like, why not? But then, isn't it worth putting the 100 minerals into that? I don't know. Maybe this is just really, he's really trying to appropriately use the saturation. I don't know.
I mean, Dark's a good player. He's chosen to stick on 2 bases, right? He's chosen to do this with the gas. I am now wondering if maybe there's a degree where this was a mistake. Like, he meant to start speed. He thinks it's researching. No, okay, there's the layer. Okay, sorry. A lot of question marks with this because it's very odd to go for this much gas this quickly and not use it at all.
Yes, yeah. So he is doing No, he went for third base last time he played. Yeah, I don't know. And this is like another thing where maybe someone out there's going to be like, oh, it's for a Nidus Worm, and he's just banking all the gas for roaches. And it's like, well, that's possible, but I still feel like it's a very early time to start banking gas. The Dark's, obviously the better player here, so we're just going to trust that he's going to do what he's going to do. So the gas is going to go into what looks to be +1 and roach speed. Now, he puts those structures in the back, which, sometimes you just bother put them in the front, kind of get a wall off as well. I don't know what it would help against Protoss, but the point is you can sometimes do it. It is scouted by the Oracle. And, when you look at this, pushing off the third base isn't the weirdest thing. We've seen Zergs go for 2-base layer roach +1 against Protoss, and then eventually take a third, kind of like an almost CBZ build, right? Just the amount of gas accrued before then.
Oh, I'm not doing so good right now, dude.
Oh. Well, Dark does take that third base. So saying eventually you go ahead and take it. The Oracle is probably very intently scouting for that, and also would probably want to get back in there and see if the +1 is actually wiggly jiggly. Maybe see a Nidus Worm too if you try and deep dive, and that might be a plan of his just to make sure. But we are kind of not exactly past the point of Nidus Worm, but if it was going to be a more cheesy one, I think their +1 would not be on the way. We said an infestation pit, which would be nice for Trap to scout, and that is in the natural a little bit farther back, so probably not going to happen for his Oracle. Dark's been rather on point with his queen positioning, since you don't really need a ton of creep spread in this matchup. If you have an extra queen, it's oftentimes just more useful to deflect Oracles or Phoenix. And now with 4 Phoenix, and maybe
Ooh.
oh, whoops a daisy, not worth that stasis trap.
No, it was stasis trap. He's just being greedy trying to kill this creep tumor.
Oh, that's what he was doing? Yep,
Yeah.
That's not worth it.
Oh boy. All right, well, losing the Oracle like that's not going to cost him the game, but it's certainly a sore thing to have to do. The roach attack on the left side, I'm wondering if it's going to function just as a distraction, because these guys are coming in offset and a little delayed, but it would require a big overreaction at a trap.
This is just a very few amount of units, but without the Oracle, he doesn't really know exactly how many roaches are on the way, and the Phoenix do have to kind of come back to help out, so Third Nexus does not get canceled.
Wait, he just canceled both Tunneling Claws and Burrow, and they were like seconds from finishing.
I guess he figured he didn't want to do that anymore.
I was actually really hoping he'd commit to it, because I'm looking at this like you kill the Oracle, there's less detection, you might get away with those tactics.
Well, funnily enough, because you'd be right if it was double Stargate.
Whoa.
It's Swarmos.
Yep.
Again here, Solar was doing. But he saw that it was a robo. He saw that there was Immortals already out, so you figure they have a decent amount of army on the ground. They're not depending on Phoenix lift-ups like it was to Stargate the last time we saw a trap play against a Zerg. This is now him potentially able to deal with Stormhost in a different manner. Or that trap versus Solar game, he was pinned back. His Phoenix did an okay amount of damage, maybe not really worth a double Stargate opener. And then the Swarmhost just continued to deal too much damage to him. But now that he's got a different opener, things haven't really been going that poorly for our Protoss, Oracle loss aside. Can he deal with the Swarmhost? Can he survive the onslaught?
I don't think he's actually realized they're in play yet as part of this too. With the Observer having been sniped off, those Stormers were not envisioned just yet. I was gonna get his first taste of them here in a second.
It goes for a Stalker. It's probably the thing that Trap cares the least about. But then goes for a lot of Zealots. If it goes for, the Zealots ran their faces into the Locusts. So, what do Locusts even attack with? I guess like Spines. I guess like Hydras. Anyways, these units that he's willing to give up, though. Things he don't want to give up: Archons, Immortal, Sentries, things with a lot of gas, things that produce slowly. And that wasn't so bad to start things off. Would love to see him squeeze in a Warp Prism, but it is that very delicate time where you do need a legitimate amount of units on the ground, because the Locusts could just be the first of things to come, right? Especially off of 3 bases, Dark could just try and max out on roaches behind this, get you to, pop the shield, and then they run in and you only have 4 Immortals. Maybe that's not enough. So he gets up to 4. then goes to the Warp Prism, probably
Lord.
right back into Immortal Production.
He could probably just focus this Nexus. That's exactly what he's going to do. Shield Battery tries to help, but
Oh,
so futile.
yeah, not even they could help.
If he was pushing into the Swarm Host as he lost the base instead of trying to defend it, I think he could have actually got some okay value out of this. But choosing to very futilely defend that base just ended up costing him like a Nexus and 3 probes.
This counter might not be that bad. Now his Warp Prism can be used just to reinforce a counterattack, but actually the Locusts are already up again, so not going to be able to do that. I would have loved an Observer to clear up all his creep spread. That wouldn't have been the best thing he could have done. He is getting one now. He recognizes it as well. But so the Warp Prism, where is it? It was back at home. Now it's going to be sent across. And there's no hard counters really to Swarm Host, but this is a nice way to potentially bring back something. The Swarm Host might be brought back, or all the other Roaches might be brought back. And at this point, Dark just has a lot of army to work with to try and catch something off guard. High Templars, Third Nexus, something like that. But this is a good defense. So the Archons will tank a decent amount of Locusts. Force fields are used.
Yeah. Oh, okay. Well, the force fields actually end up being so incredibly valuable here. I thought what was really cool, I'd say critical, but also cool and critical, baiting with the Roaches, having that army maybe in a position where the Locusts could hit them from behind. Like, it was really well played out of Dark, even though Trap also played it well in that clutch last-second defense.
Yeah, the force fields are amazing. The Archons also know the shield batteries, so they're always going to be able to tank quite a bit. I think ideally you catch High Templars lagging behind, because they literally will. There's the slowest unit, but so far so good. Trap has not lost any considerable amount of supply. That third base that went down was not great, but really in the grand scheme of things, he wasn't also trading on army, so it was totally recoverable. Even gets a cancel on Dark's fourth base. Dark's not exactly on an amazing economy, but he also doesn't really have to be. You know, that whole chestnut of Locusts being free. So now he's at the fourth bases. We might see him go up to 60 or 70 drones, but because he's not at a usual drone count, the Swarm Hosts aren't taken away as much as you would think from the army when they're not popping their Locusts. There's a 20 arm supply advantage for Dark, and he has the Locust popping with this army value.
Oh man, storms him down on top of the Locusts, trying desperately to keep everything back as he does break the Locust wave. Now it's just Hydras, and the Hydras kind of flimsy. Second wave of the Locusts come out though, and that stagger might have just saved Dark's life.
Maybe. I mean, the storms have to be used on it to save some of those important frontline units, but there's still 2 more storms in Trap's back pocket. We have a small run by of Roaches, I believe, killing a decent number of probes, so Trap is becoming, well, I mean, only might not be the right word, but I mean, if you can't catch those Swarm Hosts, then they can always pop a very dangerous wave of Locusts now that all of the buffer units are gone, now that all the storms are gone, and here they come now.
Locust just looking for something to do, a little slow, hard to get to anything, but I think ultimately I still favor Dark's position in this game. A lot of this has to do with the cost efficiency of the Swarm Host surviving versus the Hydras dying.
Yeah. Dark, by the way, a lot of these engagements have only been saved or even turned out well for him because he split his Locust waves up. Like, just right there, if he didn't have them, the Roaches get killed and the Swarm Hosts are followed up.
This is where, yeah, you really absolutely must highlight that, because so many Zerg players, both Korean and non-Korean, they tend to just like blow their load, all the Locusts at once, all the time, always. And we've talked about how it's an inefficient way to play, but I think this game may be the single best highlight as to why we talk about it so much.
And this is possibly Dark's best chance to win the game, which I think he will. Yeah, that's so sad. Too much.
But the Warp Prism Micro and the Immortals is really good there, keeping them alive. They actually survive the Locust wave, but the problem is they still probably will die to Hydras, all things considered. And of course, as we had talked about the staggering Locusts, I mean, there's even more of them coming out. They've got incredibly good DPS. Now the Immortals are starting to go down. Trap's dying, and Dark looks like he's about to secure the game.
Yeah, GG. If Dark had not immediately countered like that, there's, potential for Trap to get that storm count back up. He was on 4 bases with a better economy. That's why I was like, it's kind of hard to say. But Dark did immediately counter, and those Locusts got an amazing engagement.
Yeah, really, really well played out of Dark. And as we had mentioned, guys, we are now in all-kill format mode, so Dark will stay on, and the other team will have to send out somebody to try and take on Dark, which difficult to say the least. Dark is a really powerhouse player to have in this position.
So the one thing I'm confused about for this format is Trap was chosen because it was a freebie after they won the 2v2. But then is Cure the only one left they can choose? Was that like one freebie out of the 3 and then you're back to, you know, whoever won their first few games?
That's a good question. We never did have that part fully clarified to us. But
Yeah.
I guess we'll find out as we get into the lobby here. Ruel777, thank you for that Twitch Prime sub. Like we said today, especially those matter. So thank you. Thank you. And looks like Cure's in the lobby. So whether it was chosen or whether it was defaulted, either way, Cure comes up to fight against Dark. And the stakes at hand are as follows, guys. If Dark wins this game, it's all over and his team goes on to the grand finals. If Cure wins this, well, Dark's team still has another life to fall back on. So it's difficult for both teams in this situation. Either way, the map is Acid Plant as we get everyone in. And starting up, we'll see you guys in game. All right, the best of 7 continues. I'll get the scores fixed up here. Just give me 1 sec. There we go. It's, oh, well, the scores are backwards, so let me fix that. There you go. It's match point for this guy and his team. In the top left, he is the last man standing. He's got to win it all. It's Cure. No pressure.
In the bottom right, as the red Zerg, he is Dark.
Now I gotta put my camera on you for a second. I gotta go cough up a lung.
Alrighty then.
I'll be back in a sec.
Dark actually going for a gas again. Last game it was a bit hard to tell because, well, I think going for a gas pool is you know, something that you don't have to go for. You can just go for a pool. He was pylon blocked, so like, was it a trigger or was it what he wanted to do anyways? You can't 100% say on that last map, I guess, unless I rewatched it and saw the pylon timing. But this game, obviously, it's quite intentional to go for all of that first. It ended up being that, and it still feels a little weird to me, just because, you know, if you really dissect that like builds that he did, it was, and it's something that you're probably not going to do versus Terran, but let's see. It was like, you know, couldn't you just gone for like 2 gases later on and then like had like better, more efficient mining in the early game? Like, I don't know, but obviously it ended up working out quite well. Everything paired up well together with the +1 amount of roaches you could get. But versus Terran, you know, is he even going to go roaches? It's Acid Plant, so I actually gonna think that he will. Maybe even like a 1/1 roach all in. But with the early speed here, that's going to be quite scary for Cure if he wasn't SCV scouting. First, the Lings come in and kind of pull the Reaper back home, and then follow up with more Speedlings, maybe. Suddenly your Hellion follow-up gets fully surrounded, you lose control of your natural, and it's a great start for the Zerg. Even if he even goes that way. We do have the first 2 Lings coming out. We are having some follow-up Lings. We'll see how he waits with those and how he uses them. The Reaper, of course, is going to stay at home because the SCV scouted how late the hatchery was. And Dark should realize that's the case, even though his Overlord's not quite over here, just because I'm pretty sure he's still the SCV with this Overlord. So a game of like mind games, right? Try and wait as long as possible, and maybe you see the Reaper leave, maybe you don't. Maybe Cure fakes the Reaper leaving, maybe he doesn't. He does want to get a legitimate scout on the follow-up, because this could be speed follow-up. It could also be roaches following up. And to have like a last-second notice of that is a dangerous thing indeed. Now he sees more Lings, which you gotta wonder what's going through his mind right now. These 2 Lings are not gonna be able to stall out the command center anyways. You know, there's a certain amount of time before the command center finishes. They'll just get the SCV, maybe. Not even, actually. The Hellions pop out. Speed does finish. So again, the Reaper had also kind of seen that, I believe. But this is so far been a nice hold. And while it doesn't sound like very much, sometimes if you have the whole snowball effect, right? First the Lings catch you off guard, then more Lings catch your Hellions off guard. Suddenly you're in a bad economic stance and Dark is just taking full advantage. Instead, he has Hellions. He has a Reaper. Even going for a Viking now. It's probably faster sim behind it. Not going for 2 more Hellions quite yet, but seems to be the intention of him. Yes, okay. Yeah, that's what he's doing. And I guess we'll pay attention actually to this potential swap off. The timing of the tech lab was a little suspicious, but nah, just goes for the Liberator.
Right,
Overlord is going to see the tech lab. Hi. And
Yes,
it did
it
start
does.
sim for a second, but he didn't want to reveal it. So he cancels. Does he restart it?
I would hope so.
Well, he could
Although-
swap it off.
Well, of all things to like go for a hit, like a cancel, don't look at me thing on, it's like, I guess Cure is willing to play Mac, so I shouldn't be too condescending about it, but it just feels like Stim's like the last thing you need to hide, but he does go for the swap.
Okay. It's kind of weird, right? Because he like, if you're gonna swap, I would have thought that you would have tried to like show it Stim, you know, like get that mind game going. But no, doesn't show Stim and swaps it off. But this is the defensive tank,
Ooh.
so
Ooh.
initially defensive, anyways.
Okay, a little indecisive with the Hellions. Like, do you want to go all in and commit? Do you want to fall back? Loses a single Hellion out to the Queen. But part of that may have just been him being distracted because back at home, some Zerglings picked off the SCV that was trying to very diligently build this command center.
Yeah. So obviously, Kier's intention is to go in a bio. We've got double engineering bays now confirming that. But the faster tank not just saves him against a Zerg player who is typically aggressive. I mean, he already started off the game with trying to go for faster speedlings, but also could certainly follow up like a mid-game Roach Ravager attack, contain, maybe even a Queen drop. Like, those are certainly possible. We know Dark wasn't going for that, but that's a nice thing about those faster tanks. And the other nice thing about it is that you just simply have a higher tank count the longer the game goes, right? As opposed to just now starting tanks or in a minute starting tanks. You're just going to have more.
I think that's what makes, I think that is like one of the core things that makes Dark such a terrifying player, right? He's not a guy who's known to do one thing or another. He's a guy who's known for everything. He could play that macro game. He could play the game like he's Snoot. He could play the game like he's an all-in player too at the same time. And it's scary. So for Cure, scouting is beyond essential.
And a safe opener too. You know, I think what was really scary about the scout was that especially if that scene like confirmed it was Stim and he just kept with Stim, that is Dark is the type of guy who will be triggered into all inning. He'll just be like, oh, you're doing that? Okay, let's go for it. Where some other Zergs kind of just have that pre-planned and like either do it or they don't, right? That was not an efficient trade, I guess, with Hellions, but the Hellion part's kind of over anyways.
Yeah, 3 Liberators is quite a bit more than normal in this situation. Normally there's like 1 flying in. And the Spore Crawler can reposition to take care of one of them, sure, but not 3? This one down here has been pushed off pretty well too. But that's where I think one Liberator comes in from this side, because he knows the Spore Crawler is looking at the other. So hits the main base, hits the natural base, flies around to hit the third base, and Dark now has to have some crazy reaction time.
It's pretty good in the man and the natural, but the third base was the main issue, I think. He does pull away most of the drones. Now he positions the Spore, and that's a very fast dig time. So not too shabby. You got to consider that was 3 Liberators worth of money and gas, and also the reactor was being used for that initially.
Yeah, and in fact, just looking at the numbers, looking at the actual units lost, I don't really think that this was a well worth it trade, but it was still nice because what this did was it kept Dark at home. He's not spreading creep because he's busy sending the Queens back to the main. Maybe misses an inject, but the point is not pressuring Cure's third base that he was establishing while this strangely dedicated attack happened.
And to add on to your point, he was taken at third base with no Hellions. That was the worst. That's always the worst thing about losing Hellions before you're quite ready, is that suddenly you don't have a lot of army. And while a tank sounds good, 1 or 2 tanks without any Marine support is not good versus lanes, right? So it's a very important 30 seconds there that he was not being swamped. If that was Dark's plan, maybe it wasn't, but still, it provided a lot of safety. Now, Cure is, I think a lot of Terrans are doing this, but on different maps, more so than others, but he's doing it here. Very fast 4th base. It's already done by 8:15. That seems to be becoming more of a norm, as I don't know what it is, but Terrans are like kind of giving up almost on the 3 base pressure. They're just like, well, you know, I might as well get a 4th base because I know it's not going to work. I know I can fit it in there. I don't know what it is.
What I'm really interested in is whether this ends up being a planetary and orbital. Because speaking of Terrans and like trends, right? Lately it's been a trend from players like Gumiho and like Cure to not do a planetary at your 4th, but instead an orbital. But okay, in this case it will be a planetary. I would say I'm really on board with the extra orbital though. I think that the ability to lift and save it is pretty invaluable, but perhaps recognizing that there's Hydras, he says, yeah, I'm probably going to lose that either way. Might as well
And
take
Lingering
a few
Bias.
bugs out with me.
Lingering Bias is just such a pain. No one builds a bunk with their orbitals anymore. But we have this really neat thing going on where Cure, he started off with those tanks, and then if he had continued building tanks, he would have had a very solid amount, even though he's only just added on that second factory. But no, it was transitioning over to drilling claws, which generally you don't really want against Hydras, even though they work out perfectly fine against Ling Baneling, just like they normally would. It is going to be a complete surprise to Dark.
I feel like
Could've
that
been it.
thing's positioning was pretty bad too, by the way. The fact that Hydras could just shoot that uncontested.
Yeah, that was... I guess he didn't really plan on it holding against a Hydra line as much as it was a Ling defense, right?
Yeah, stop run bys. Either way, supply blocks here. Cure pays him back by supply blocking him, but Dark's pretty much already maxed out. So it doesn't hurt Dark as nearly as much as the supply block hurts Cure.
Yeah. Cure also seemed to be a little late in that combat shields. He didn't have the fastest stim, but I'm pretty sure that's a late combat shields. Little
that is a
mistimed on his
very
plus
late
armor.
combat shields.
Yeah, but it's funny though, because I was saying, like, they go for these faster fourths. They don't really pressure in the mid game. Oddly enough, I don't think his plan was to even utilize a main army here. So like that lack of combat shields is not intentional. Pretty damn sure about that, but it's also not exactly killing him. I think what is killing him though is and this is why I don't really, I'm like 50-50 on whether or not I think it's good to just kind of match the Zerg to late game. Sometimes it works out beautifully. Sometimes it looks like it really, really sucks. And this might be one of those situations where Dark is just letting, he's going 6 bases. He's got pretty decent creep spread despite Cure's attempts to hold it back. He's got all of his upgrades. He really identified how Cure was going to play and then tried to match him and even beat him to the punch. So he's got Ultralisk already. I would have loved to see an Aspire as well, not just for eventual Broodlords, but also to help out against Liberators, because now it's like, depending on the Terran, either they go right into Ghost or they go right into Liberators, or if they can afford it, both. And in this case, I guess Cure can afford it.
Yeah, actually, all things considered, Cure took some pretty bad early game trades. Let's be honest, those Liberators who went down sucked. Since then, it's actually been him trading up pretty well.
Yeah.
How? Oh, Dark, you were either really lucky or really skilled. That's split.
I think it's a skill. Like, he did that in the first one of mine again too, and I was like, what? How? I would have spazzed.
Crazy.
I've just been like, take all my links.
Yeah. Here's the donation. I know you're not streaming, but this is for you.
Yeah.
Well, this is still for me. Like, Dark into the late game is cool, right? I haven't seen a lot of Dark's late game because he tends to win before then, which isn't a problem at all. So I'm very excited to see how this plays out. But there are some Terran players out there who they really excel at this stage of the game. Ghosts and Liberators are your jam.
Well, this didn't go so well. It actually didn't go that poorly either, though. Like,
For
there's
either
enough
player.
army behind this.
The drop down here gets pushed off. That's notable too because Dark has units down here to defend, which was part of why that army was perhaps a little weaker than maybe he expected with that attack on the other side. But knowing that he has time, Cure's going to take the opportunity to clean up creep tumors, which means he's not pushing for an attack. So Dark gets to build up those ultras and, more importantly, finish up all of these critical upgrades. 30 Banelings are on the way. We got 3-3 finishing up here very soon. Well, Ultralists, they look like they might be the focal point of this army. I think it's still going to be about the Banelings.
Yes, yeah, for sure. For sure. Now, Cure, very importantly, has that base set up. That was kind of the scary thing about ever taking engagements. It's like, well, I guess it's a general statement, but the point is, like, he wants his 5th base actually set up with the turrets, with a planetary, because the max is going to always be faster for the Zerg. They have to wait for
shit.
Banelings.
He just had his drops caught here on the left side of the map, too. Those 2 medevacs locked and loaded.
Yeah. But continuing on this Widowmine thing, it's like they produce so fast and there's so many of them that the chance they get a shot is like pretty high. They also help against eventual Corruptors or Vipers, but Dark just kind of tries to stampede through here.
Oh,
The
Lord.
Vipers get a parasitic bomb, but they don't actually take out the Liberators that quickly. You know, there weren't enough ducks. Parasitic bomb was kind of late, and the Liberators do a great job of taking out most of the Ultras.
You can see the scans going down, by the way. It's not for creep. He was trying to keep vision. Well, now these ones are, but he's trying to keep vision and maybe get that snipe off. But Dark actually outran that with the Ultra, so that survived for a little bit. Once the Liberators get dealt with, he get like that push that he did there either works well if the Liberators are knocked down or the Ghosts are killed. Because not both of them died together, unfortunately. That's why we saw a very awkward retreat out of Dark. We just bled out a little bit more. And we're... Okay, this is a noteworthy bank for Dark, but he's actually spending a lot of money trying to break a very small amount of Terran units. I'm just like, why not come in with a secondary attack from the top side, right? I'm actually sitting here thinking, and I can't believe I'm saying this, I'm applying to Dark of all people, like, play like Raynor, dude. Come in from a second angle of attack.
I would love to see something, because that's the second that the Terran has to pull the SCVs away or something like that is the second you move in, they don't control the Ghosts. They don't have the Liberator siege correctly, something like that, right? But that is part of the reason why you have siege units, whether that's Widow Mines or tanks, Liberators, or what have you, is that you can actually try and deal with, focus purely on your Ghost control or focus on a counter that happens. Run by. Oh my god!
Okay.
Control on Ghost, that wasn't great.
I mean, Ghosts don't take a lot of damage from Banelings, but if you can get like a 6 Baneling for 4 Ghosts straight, that's not too bad. Ultras run through this. The last line of defense was the Liberators, but they have been parasitic bombed, so they are going down as the Corruptors just get to aim over the front lines. The Planetary Fortress dies, and Cure's base that he needed so desperately goes down. Not to mention, most of the army that supported this. Oh god, the medevacs too.
Yeah. It didn't. Cure was a little too weird to say, but I can't think of a better word, like greedy for trying to push out into that. Like the time where that army composition looks the worst is usually when it's pushing forward. Defensively, you get the Zergs get really upset and frustrated, but offensively, Zergs are like, yeah, come at me, bro.
It's another base snipe on the way out. That's 2 planetaries down. I don't think I'll reestablish this one. Guys, this is looking bad for Cure, and Solendis and the Bugs might just make it to the grand finals.
It's not over yet, but it's not looking good.
Wait, I just realized with that team name, Stats is Solendis.
Yeah, and the Bugs are the Zerg.
Yeah, Stats is the waifu in this combination.
Waifu. Yeah, that's it. That's actually it. GG.
GG. Well fought out of Cure, but Dark ultimately takes and locks down this best of 7, sending them to the grand finals, which, by the way, this might be the sickest combination of teams here. You've got on one side the big 3. Yeah, Innovation, Sue, and Zest. They're waiting for these guys. Coming up from the bottom, Stats, Solar, Dark. I mean, no offense to Solar because he's had a bit of a poor run lately, but Stats and Dark are pretty hype players. And I think Solar adds a nice rounding out to that mix. Either way, whatever combination this grand finals leads to is going to be pretty exciting. I believe it's still best of 7. We've not been told otherwise. But this is the grand finals coming up. The first place team gets 2 million Korean won. That works out to be just a little under $2,000 US. Second place gets 1 million Korean won. Works out to be a little bit less than $1,000. Either way, of course, this gets split 3 ways amongst the players. It's still some pretty good cash. Anyways, guys, I know the ads aren't working, so we're going to go to a break screen. You're probably not going to get commercials because this has just been fucked up today. But we'll get into these finals as soon as we're back. It'll probably take them a few moments to sort out who's playing first, second, third, and all that. But I hope you guys have enjoyed this. The QCL is a lot of fun, and I think the finals is going to be great. We'll be back in a little bit, though. Ignore the timer. The timer's going to run its course. We're just going to stay on the break screen until the grand finals is good to go. So thank you for watching. Be back soon. Hey guys, we're back, and I don't know if you can tell. My voice is already a little strained, so a couple things to talk about here. We're still not ready to go to the finals. You're not missing anything just yet. Is there Ting mobile promo code? Tilde, yeah, bttv.ting.com. Anyways, God, Zombie, it's such an ugly emote. You can't even tell what it is.
I think it is perfect for what it is.
Well, I agree, but I'm just saying, like, if you didn't know what that was and someone posted that, there's no way you would have any idea what the fuck that was. Artosis, please. At any rate, guys, here's a couple things to talk about. One is we're actually going to tag out for the finals. I am really not feeling up to this, and I feel terrible about it, but Zombie says she's cool with doing the final solo, so hype. You guys give her bits and donations. It all goes to her, so, you know, treat her well. But I really can't do these finals, so I'm going to tap out here. We're going to have the stream go offline for a moment, and she's going to go online. So there'll be a small blip, but it'll be the same channel, same everything, just with Zombie running the show. The other part of it, too, is I want to make sure that everyone got this announcement best they can. I put it on Twitter. I put it on Discord. Today was the day I was supposed to fly out for Chicago. That's been canceled. The event is still going on, and if you guys want to play in it, go ahead. My full endorsement. Good luck. That actually startled me a little bit. Thank you, Pinochle. But I won't be going to Chicago anymore, which is a bit of a bummer. So if you need more details, just read up on my Twitter or check the Discord server. Either way, I'm going to take this opportunity to rest instead of pushing myself to, because that's what I've been doing for these last 2 weeks. I think that is a large contributing factor of like why it's taking me so long to get better. It's like, rather than getting rest, I am pushing myself and having bad hours. So I'm gonna take today's hint and I'm gonna rest for once. So Zombie Up, thank you in advance so very much for being willing to do this. I hope you guys enjoy the QCL Grand Finals. I just gotta say really quick, I am rooting for Team Innovation, one-man team. That's my personal go team. So with that, I'll be taking the stream down here, and Zombie Up will be going up. So thanks again, Zombie Up.
You're welcome. Feel better.
Thank you.